Are you still coaching now, or are you getting back into it in the next few days, or with your injury, I mean?
Right, okay. So try 24 hours. Anybody that has never ridden a horse, I'll tell you now, they think that you just sit there.
Yeah.
Yes. She's lost her neck, it's all gone to her belly.
I know how that feels.
I don't know, I just like riding, I like training horses, I love the progress, the challenges. I started doing some BS, which is British show jumping.
It's not what it sounds like.
They didn't think that through, did they?
Welcome to episode 18 of the Just Horse Riders podcast. For all those who do watch regularly will notice we're actually in a different studio now, which I'm actually still trying to decorate. It is a work in progress, bear with me. This week I've got on Philippa Hamilton, who takes us through some amazing stories and training tips she's picked up through her time in the equestrian industry. As you will see in the podcast, Philippa really amazes me with her attitude to injury and her overall grit and determination. I hope you all find this episode as interesting as I did. So without further ado, here's the episode. Enjoy. Why horses? What got you into horses? Who did it to you?
Well, apparently the name Philippa actually means lover of horses. This is a fact that my mother didn't find out until I was being christened. When Mr. Law, the vicar, said, "Do you know that this name means lover of horses?" It was too late after that. But no, basically, no real family connection to horses. I would love to have been born into a dynasty, but no. Mum and Dad had shire horses. They had two shire horses that used to work the land on my grandma's farm. And other than that, they've had no contact at all. Of course, they went when they got a tractor. And then they left the farm in Yorkshire, moved over to the Fylde. And our family home was on Mains Lane, everyone will know, poultry farm. Yeah, okay, so yeah. Dad went into, just started with a few hens like people do, selling them at the gate, and then it grew and grew and grew. And that was it. I think that's where I get my self-employed tenacity from, is my dad.
Your entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship?
Yeah.
Can't even pronounce it.
Worker. Yeah. Just, I think that's it. It's bred in using it, or yeah, it's a mindset, isn't it? And my mum was absolutely beautiful, wonderful lady. She has the artistic side, the needlework, a painting, a music. So I'd like to think I've got a little bit of a music interest from her, and my slightly artistic side when I create.
Oh, do you paint?
Things. No. I'm not so much a painter, but I have this brain. Sometimes it gets me into trouble. When you're mucking out and you're doing what you call your mindless tasks, your brain goes off, and I create these things in my head, so people will know.
Like what?
Panto horse.
You panto? Go on. You got it.
Well, I created a panto horse called Let's Be Having You, and then other bizarre things. Fancy dress. I like a bit of dressing up. And I've sort of written silly plays. My liveries were tortured with those in the early days. Yeah, just a bit crazy, really. And I love writing. And creative. That.
What, like short stories and?
Yeah. So I'm a bit out there with that, and I think I get that side from my mum.
So is that why, like, Shan says to me she loves mucking out, because it gives her time to think and create?
Yeah, it's. I mean, those sort of mindless tasks, you're on autopilot, aren't you? You're not actually physically thinking about what you're doing. So that's when your mind goes off, or my mind goes off at a tangent, and I start having these crazy thoughts. But
creating and that sort of thing. No, but that's so when, because you did dressage as well, didn't you?
Yes.
Obviously.
Yeah. So I've sort of migrated through the disciplines.
Did you do freestyle dressage and then create like your routines whilst you were mucking out?
No, but I like listening to music, and so I can hear a piece of music and think, oh, that sounds like, and the best pieces. There's swells, there's highlights to it, and then it goes down again. There's variation within a piece of music, and I sort of think, oh, that sounds like it could go to a particular pace or particular movement, and can do that. But no, the dressage and the dressage to music gets a bit of an after. Going back to starting a livery yard, I used to also have buy and sell ponies and horses. They used to come in randomly from the local dealers, and it was often a pay me when you've sold it type of situation.
Lots of trust.
Yeah. But when I'd get something, I'd think, right, okay, what can you do? And so, certain ones used to jump, certain ones used to hunt, certain ones used to show, certain, and event and what have you. So I did a little bit of everything, bringing on these horses. But it was a great learning experience, as being self-employed always will be. Yeah. Every mistake you make costs you money usually, so you learn quickly.
Well, education isn't free, is it?
Yeah. Absolutely. But I think it was a variety of horses and ponies that I've had to deal with, because I set up on my own when I was 19.
Oh, so really, you were really young then? What, you set up your livery yard when you were 19?
I opened a one-horse. There was one horse on the yard. It belonged to the son of the family that owned the property, and I opened it as a livery yard and waited for the customers to come in, and then it built it up. So, like I say, the number of horses and ponies that went through the yard, liveries and a bit of dealing, and then I moved up to where I am now with Bob, and I think was that 1999. And carried on since then. But yeah.
So you've had quite a lot. You've been in the industry essentially your whole life, your whole working life, especially. Yeah. So you must have many a story, especially from I know livery yards can be quite dramatic and fun-filled areas. Yeah. Any ones that stick out to mind that you'd like to share?
God, it's too many. Well, yeah, one particularly. It's like, one particular crazy... No, I'm not naming names, but one particularly crazy, lovely lady, but they bought this horse box. They had one pony, I think it was about 14 too, and she bought this humongous horse box. And at Carfield, we used to drive down the drive around the stables, and we'd parked all the wheelbarrows at the short end of this said building. And she took the corner out with her one day, and one of my wheelbarrows got stuck under the skirts of her wagon, and I heard this horrendous noise, and she's carried my wheelbarrow about 15 yards down the drive, digging up all the gravel while she went. And she came back round the corner. What on earth's happened? What happened? Your wheelbarrow scratched my wagon.
You're joking.
I went, oh, did it really? This poor defenceless wheelbarrow was like mangled to bit. Oh no, we've had some great fun. I've had some great laughs. I've been very, very fortunate that throughout I've been able to have lots of very, very nice clients, and I've never really had to put up with any not so nice.
Mischievous ones.
Yes. There are some that will forever be on a waiting list. Yeah.
I think that is one a good, both a positive and a negative in the horse world, is that everybody knows everybody in some form or
yeah. I mean, I'm very much sort of take everybody as you find them, but it's good when you're sort of busy enough that you can choose a little bit who will get on, particularly with the dynamic.
Yes, well, that's it. It's so important as well. You've got a certain culture on your yard, and if you add one person, same within work here, if we've got a certain culture at the moment, which is
I think the smaller you are, the more important that is.
100%.
One person, it could be 20% of your workforce, or it could be 5% of your work, or it's more important the smaller the yard that everybody gets on. It does only take one.
But just going back to some funny stories with the riding school, my mum got a call one day from this lady, really angry on the phone. Excuse me, yes, hello. Your horse has just pooed outside my house. Okay. We're in South Manchester, in Carrington. Oh, where are you calling from? In Salford. Right, which is North Manchester.
This horse is very good in traffic, is it?
Which is about 9 junctions on the M60. Yeah. And this lady just assumed that all the horses, adamant that all the horses came from Carrington Riding Centre. Yeah. And it was just like, no, that's not the case. Well, what are you going to do about it? Well, nothing, because it's not our horse. No. But the BHS, so you're BHS accredited instructor, professional. How hard was that? Was it a difficult thing? Is it something that you've acquired over years, or have you done it in one sort of block? Or
well, I suppose we should go back a little bit further to my non-attendance at a medical secretary school, college, where I lasted 3.5 days and got myself then a job just as a working pupil and nothing for a couple of years. Then I went to the Wirral, and that was where I really renewed my super keen interest. And I went to, first of all, to do a 3-month course to get my AI, stage 3 and AI as it was then, and ended up loving it so much. And I was invited to stay on as a working pupil. Oh, wow. So no more cost to mum and dad, apart from the pot noodle and Bacardi and Coke supply that they gave me.
Very important.
Yeah. And so stayed another 10 months. And I think that was possibly, we were very lucky at that little 10 months was the height of the Wirral. We had Dorothy Johnson as a fellow of the British Horse Society as our head. Yeah. And Stephen Clark was there. And Richard and Jane Carruthers were there, Sue Hill, and they were just amazing. And I came out of there with my stage 4, my intermediate, and my pony club H and A test. But I'd gone in as an entrance. Because I got my pony club B, they allowed me to start at the stage 3 on the BHS because they regard it as being equivalent. They did then regarded it as equivalent. So I felt that pony club would give me a great head start. Yeah. And then I was able to step in there. And then I came home, and because I felt that I'd had 3 years then effectively earning not a bean and costing my parents a lot of money, they replaced me with a King Charles Cavalier Spaniel, actually, when I moved.
Your mum and dad did?
So I went to the Wirral, and within about 3 or 4 weeks, I must have had a phone call, and she went, "Oh, guess what?" She said, "We've got a little dog called Rowley, King Charles Cavalier." Oh, that's me easily replaced then.
I assume your mum and dad didn't feed the dog a pot noodle and Bacardi and Coke.
No. That was my staple diet, which they knew little of. I kept asking for more housekeeping, telling her that we were making roast dinners every Sunday. And bless her cotton socks, she believed every word I said. But no, we had great fun, absolutely great fun. So I came away from there, and then I was just anxious to start earning some money. So the opportunities that everyone has got now to sort of go abroad or just travel generally and go and work for other people wasn't obviously as prevalent as it is now. And but I just wanted to earn money really. So that was I got the opportunity of opening this little yard and built it. So that's when I took on that at 19. So kicked on from then, and I've been at it ever since, I'm afraid.
You know when you were those years where you weren't earning a bean, as you said. What were your friends doing? Like, were they in regular jobs, regular careers, or were they still in school?
It's a little bit. You tend to lose touch with people that you're not in the same circle as. I sort of lost touch with a few friends and people from school, but then made other friends through the horsey side. So. It's one of those things when horses, like whatever age for the children as well, they're all consuming, aren't they? Mm. And you've got very little time or energy to do anything.
I feel that, yeah.
You were ready for bed at 9 o'clock, but no, we had a great time. But as I say, I was just keen to start earning and having been independent, really. And that was when, as I say, I started the liveries and then ran the dealers as well. But I'm trying to compete would compete in whatever sphere it was bent towards doing. But if I'd have liked a Philippa Hamilton event rider would have been my thing to have on my tombstone in an ideal world. But I did start to event a couple of horses and then sold them, which is what I did with everything.
Is there a reason for that, or just...
No, just as soon as you get them going, and then they become valuable and somebody wants them, and you sell them because, you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So you sell them if you've got a chance, don't you? But the last one that I did a bit of eventing with was a horse called Zido that I bought off George Woods. Yeah. Oh. And he'd been show jumped previously, and I thought he could do a nice dressage test, Hanoverian. And then we started doing dressage with jumping. And at the time, they were sponsored by Stora Timber.
Store of timber.
But I think they were like a shavings sort of firm. I think they ceased to be a long time ago. And so whilst we were waiting for the scores, these competitions were run at horse trials. So Mum and I would walk the cross-country course whilst we were just hanging around waiting. And I just said to her one day, I think we could do this. We could do this. So I started eventing him. But we started mid-July and just did the last half of the season, mid-October. And bless him, he was never out of the top 10 apart from one occasion. There was this huge trachena jump, as they called them then, which was just basically a cavernous ditch with a telegraph pole.
Oh, that's literally what it is.
Yeah, yeah. And neither of us wanted to jump this particular.
I'm not surprised.
So, yeah. So other than that one occasion, we were never out of the top 10, and we had a couple of seconds and thirds, and we had a fantastic time. But in that time, we were halfway to doing the intermediate, which is the next level. Yeah. And I was looking at these other jumps thinking, I really don't want to do that. And I like the technical fences, the skinnies and the angled fences and pick your own line type fences. Yeah. But these huge galloping fences used to put the fear of God in me. And
why do you think that was? Was it just because of the sheer size?
You've got to be brave. You've got to be brave to the point of...
Had you fallen? Had you tried one of them?
I hadn't fallen during cross country, but it became clear to me when I was probably sprinkling Imodium on my sandwiches before I went cross country that this probably wasn't going to go much higher. Yeah. I think your goals are such, and novice was sufficient for me. Mm-hmm. I didn't want that goal to go any higher. Yeah. So anyway, someone came along, opportunity to tell him, snap the hand off, because it meant I didn't have to go intermediate the next season.
That's true. So did they progress? No, that's a really good cop out, actually. Yes, you've done really good. Yeah. But then did they progress further with the horses that you...
No, she absolutely loved him to bits, but she didn't do a great deal with him after. But he had a lovely home till his end. She kept him, and we're still best friends. So no, that was a lovely end. But then I think the next sort of thing was a couple of horses that I ran show jumping. In the 80s, I think. And it was when it was still called BSJA, British Show Jumping Association. And it was lovely because I'm meeting people now from those days again, because I've just done a bit more affiliated now recently with my grey mare. So I'm meeting people that I haven't seen since we were all there going, so Valiance and Oswald Eston and Barton were all in that absolute heyday. And we used to have the 2-day weekend shows in a routine, one to the other. And so this grey mare that I've got this last year just had her 12 months. I've started doing some BS, which... Yeah. British show jumping.
It's not what it sounds like.
They didn't think that through, did they? But no, it's lovely because I'm going playing out doing that again and absolutely loving it. But seeing people that I've not seen since that period in time, because you just don't go to the same shows. But no, it's been great fun. So then I started to concentrate on dressage because I realised that was possibly my favourite event part of the eventing. Yeah. And just strive then to have one after another. And
why do you think you moved towards dressage more? Like I know Shan. I think she's got a bit of OCD. I think that's why she likes dressage, because it has to be like this.
That mentality definitely does you good.
Yeah, is that what it is?
Yes. It is compulsive, but I think all horsey things are, because if you have a good day, you can't wait to go again. Mm-hmm. But if you have a rubbish day, you've just got to train and improve, and then you can't wait to go again. So either way, you're stuffed. You've got to keep going. Yeah. There's no way you're not going to give up. Yeah. So
the dressage, you leant more towards the dressage then. So
I think that you've got to have that kind of precise mind, but certainly it does help. It helps with everything, doesn't it? But jumping as well. That sort of discipline and balance and cornering and just schooling, because that's 99% of your track. Yeah. You spend very little time in the air. You spend a lot more time on the ground, cantering between the jumps. That's true. So I feel that stands you in good stead, really.
Well, you say about like how if you have a bad day, you go again. It doesn't matter, does it? Like you've got to always be there for the horses, regardless of how you're feeling. if anybody can't see, that Philippa's actually had surgery. Was it on your knee, wasn't it?
Yeah,
on your knee. And she's here 2 weeks after her operation, like an absolute trooper. And you're itching, weren't you? You're itching to get back, aren't you? You did.
Yeah, I've watched so much Netflix. I mean, when I actually did this and I was really, really sore, it timed very nicely with the Olympics. So I actually got to sit and watch the Olympics more than I would ever normally have done had I been working. But no, this is where the coaching comes in, because you can sit on a chair or a stool and still help people. So that, sort of for just your livelihood, that part can carry on. So yeah, that's fortunate, and I still love that. I think you can learn. Yeah, okay, you're helping people, but I think the number of horses and riders that you meet through coaching, you learn something from every animal you see. So it's just that experience. What works for some, what works for others. Horse rider combinations complicate it even more. So yeah, I love it. But yeah, I can't wait to get riding again.
I bet you can't. I can tell you're itching to get back.
Yes, but look at these nails. Look at these clean, long nails.
Shan has that as well. In the summer, like, her nails are absolutely perfect.
And these are my own.
And strong as well. And then what I always like to find is I always look at her ring, her wedding ring, and there's always a little piece of either straw or shavings in between. I was like, you go mucking out again, aren't you? Yeah. At least you can be a bit.
I think I went to the hospital for an appointment last week, and I had to pick a bit of hay off my hands before I walked in. But no, I thought they'll probably tell me off if they think I've been on the yard.
Well, you're probably similar to me now. You'll walk through horse poo and not even think, twice.
Oh God, Aaron.
I do the same as well. And where was I? I was with my friends who aren't horsey, and I did it. One of the mounted police had, one of the horses had pooed in the middle of the road, and I walked on it. And they're like, Aaron, you just stepped in a load of horse poo. I was like, what? It's nothing. It's fine. It doesn't even smell. Yeah. What does a horse poo smell like? Nobody can tell you. No. Nobody can tell you.
Oh.
But so you're recovering very, very rapidly, because I was expecting you to come in on crutches, like I said before.
Well, I thought I'd better go into my physio appointment on whatever day it was. I've lost track of the days, but last Monday or Tuesday, and I walked in with my crutches just to show willing, and she told me off. So I thought, well, there you go then.
Yeah, if you don't need them.
Don't need them, no. So no, it's all about physio. But I've continually done weightless physio with it, even before.
Oh, so you've been preparing.
So I felt I was strong. Yeah.
So you said that you're still coaching. Are you still coaching now, or are you getting back into it in the next few days, or with your injury? I mean.
Right. Okay. So try 24 hours.
You're joking. You were there the next day?
I came out on the Tuesday night, and I had lessons booked for the Wednesday, but I did say I'll see how I feel, because it was a general, so you don't know if you're going to feel a bit sick.
You are joking. So yeah, you literally had an operation where you pretty much needed crutches to support you, and then you were back instructing the next day, coaching the next day.
It's so boring otherwise, isn't it? It was the evening. It was a lovely sunny evening. It might have been different had it been cold and windy and raining. Sitting down in a chair is not very good when it's like that. But no, I felt fine. So sitting in a chair looking at my sand arena is no different from sitting in a chair staring at the telly.
But like that sort of attitude, like you don't get that. Like, again, I've been in the business now for 14 years, and you can't teach that grit. Like, I know it's a passion, but where does it come from? That where does it? Right, no. I've had my operation. It doesn't matter. I'm going to be in that arena.
But I'm not stupid, so it didn't hurt. I wasn't doing any harm by doing what I was doing. I wouldn't put myself at risk to delay any recovery. No. But then I just think...
No, what I mean is the majority of non-horse people go, no, I'm going to sit on the couch.
That's a self-employed thing. As I say, I get that from my dad. I mean, he used to suffer terribly with a bad back, and he'd go out and he'd do all his jobs, and he'd do his egg deliveries and everything like that, and then he'd spend the rest of the time laid on a board on the floor, because he thought that helped, and then he'd get up and do the other side. It's a self-employed thing, that. Yeah. If I worked at British Aerospace, I could be on the sick and I would put my feet up, but It's not.
But it's not your mentality to do that.
No.
So do you think that's something that you've learned, or is that something that's been bred into you from your
I'm
parents?
afraid it's probably in your genes, isn't it? But it's a bit of both nature and nurture, isn't it?
I think so.
And to be with animals of all types, you've got to be there for them. But I mean, horses, you can't be ill, and I mean, we've all had a hangover and been sick in a wheelbarrow, haven't we? Let's be honest.
Not me.
Have you
No, not in a wheelbarrow. No, I've never done that one. That is a new one. I've never even thought about that.
These sorts of things, yeah. But you just get on with it, don't you?
But you've got to, haven't you? Because you've got your horse, that relies on you in the stable, that needs looking after, regardless of how you're feeling or what. So you've still got your yard, obviously now. So what's happening there?
Well, my three, they all retired curly, and they're the one we all know as Sponger. Did you see his job club interview?
No.
Oh, he did a job club interview.
What's a job club interview?
Well, basically, he's been on the sick, scrounging off me since COVID year, and so he was my last best dressage horse, and he went lame the year of COVID, first COVID summer, and I just felt that he had to retire. We'd done our first top hat and tails advanced medium test with him, but I always knew when he was getting stiff with his hind legs because I lost his flaying changes. And 1 week we'd have them, and then a week later we wouldn't. And it was always because he was getting stiff behind. So then, of course, when with COVID hit and there were no competitions anyway, I just thought I'm not going to try and keep him going. So he's just retired.
Is that an age thing?
No, he's always been. He's a bit of a DICK, and from being 3 years old, he's always had this habit. We call it moonwalking. And he moonwalks back to the back of his stable if he's not getting sufficient attention or food or a combination of both. And then he has a little habit of kicking the back wall. So although his stable is like a padded cell, that's probably not done him a great deal of good through his life. And although he was 11 the year of COVID, but I just felt I I didn't want to be trying to keep him going and be riding this stiff horse. I just thought he'd stop. We've done what we've done. We've done a lot with him because he's about the fifth horse that I've got to that level. But, they all go off, don't they? That's that. You get them to that point and then you start again with another young one.
Yeah. And I think it's you're right in knowing when that time is. Yeah. But I think I don't know. I've seen sometimes when, you look at some horses and you think, it's probably about time to resign. But it's kind of difficult to tell someone that, it's time to retire your pony, isn't it? I suppose is it none of your business, or is it some of the? I don't know. I can never work it out if it's your place to say anything or not. I don't know.
It's so often if you're asked what do you think about my horses, you're invited to give your opinion, but I've upset people. I went to see a horse. I drove all the way over to Thirsk. This is years ago when I was buying.
I'm going to say no, and you probably last week when you've just said.
I drove all the way over to Thirsk to see this horse that was in Farmer's Guardian. We used to just buy everything out of Farmer's Guardian and Horse and Hound. And I drove all the time. My dog, my sandwiches, and off we went on this tedious trip all the way over there. And I asked this lady if she would trot this horse up, and it went off down the drive like this. And knowing from previous experience not to say anything else, I just said to her, does he always trot like that? To which she replied, yes, he's very well trained. So I just said, I went through the motions a little bit and saw her ride him just for a few minutes, and then you try to sort of say, he's not for me. Because if you actually say anything more than that, I've learned to turn my car around when you park it in the car because you can seriously upset people.
They get proper upset.
Yeah, they do. If you go to see something and then you say your horse is lame, you wouldn't get any thanks for that.
But why do you think that is? I mean, if I don't know, if it was if I owe a link and they had a limp or something, I'd be like, oh, thank you so much for telling me. Now I can, I'd obviously see it, but when it's your horse, they have they sort of get how dare you say that about. But why do you think that is?
Well, the way it's very difficult. I think if you're absolutely honest, anyone that does any coaching, The easiest, I don't know if easiest is the right word, but to sort of say, what do you think? Does he normally feel like this? Do you feel the difference on this rein to that rein? And then after that, you sort of try to give your lesson to the best of looking after the horse. If he's better on the right rein, you do most of your lesson on the right rein, to be fair. Because, like I say, you can really offend people.
They get offended, don't they?
Yeah. And at the end of the day, if you upset them, then they'll get a lesson off somebody else that will probably canter that horse and get it jumping and do all sorts of things with it. So
essentially you'll manage it in the lesson.
Kind of manage them in the lesson, do lots of walking, stay on your best rein, say, do you feel how he is on this rein?
Sort of trying to hint.
Yeah. But, over the years you sort of think, unless you're actually asked the direct question, it's management for the welfare of the horse, and just try to keep it quiet. And
because I can imagine you'll be in you'll be like in between a rock and a hard place there. Because one, if if you say anything, then they're probably going to see the backside.
You can get some nasty people that react. But if it's the first time I meet someone, I sort of try to address it in a way. Sort of that conversation. Does he normally feel like this? Have you noticed that this is happening and this is happening? And, if they say, well, we went to Fowl Show and did the open jumping on Sunday, then clearly you're not going to say anything to that person that's going to stop them doing that. But when he's with me, I just want to look after that horse. But then what? Because, if you said, look, this is this, then they're just going to tell you where to go and get somebody else. And then that person will probably keep it going just to please the client.
Because then, but is there ever been a situation where you've actually had a situation where the horse was quite badly lame?
Oh yeah, we're talking. There's this phrase like workable sound, but again, do you hack and do a little bit of light schooling, or are you still trying to event this horse? And that's where it comes to. So if your rider isn't that ambitious and you can just keep it quiet and it can tootle about, but you kind of advise them to take more. Take advice from vets and physios and just try and hint down that road that it could be better. But I feel for dressage judges, they're very much on those guidelines as well, we've got to look after the horses at the end of the day, but there is a limit to what people will sometimes accept.
Mad though, isn't it? Mad if you're just trying to say if your heart's in the right place.
It depends on the rider. It depends very much on the rider.
Yeah, I suppose they sort of see it as an extension of themselves, and then maybe.
Yeah, and if you've got a one-horse owner, that is their 100% involvement. Yeah. If somebody's got 2 or 3 to go at, then it's you tend to give that one a rest and do something with that one. But if it's a one-horse owner, they're more tempted to just keep going 12 months of the year. And I think, generally speaking, lameness-wise, there are so many lame horses now.
Why do you think that is?
Well, back in the olden days, you used to give everything 6 months off. The hunters would have the summer off. The eventers would have the winter off. The show horses would have the winter off. But now with the all the artificial surfaces and all the access to indoor schools, it's far more tempting to try and competitions all year round to keep them going. It's a show horse, but then it might go and do dressage and jumping in the winter. Yeah. Or if it's an event horse, they might train such and such through the winter as well. The temptation is there for people to keep them going. So whether that's it, whether it is the surfaces, a lot of horses just work on surfaces. There's a lot to be said for cross-training and being on different surfaces. It depends. And then is it a bit the breeding as well? Yeah. Are they too finely bred? Are they too pedigree? It seems that everything seems to be a specialist. There are a specialist show jumper, a specialist dressage horse, or a specialist this. There are no all-rounders where they're a bit half-bred. Maybe that's a little bit. There's a lot to be said for a bit of mongrel.
No, but it's good though, isn't it? Because it's the same within humans. If you're constantly breeding from the same stock, I suppose, then you're gonna get problems.
Gene pool gets a little bit too specific. But, I think everybody's sort of commented, and sort of said, I'm sure when we were younger we didn't have all these lame horses and ponies. Is it because we didn't know? Or were they just more I'm just going to use the word commonly bred, you'd have Shire crosses, you'd have Welsh cobs, you'd have Irish draft crosses, everything was a bit of a mixture. Yeah. But now everything is so, as I say, pedigree. Think about dogs. Yeah. I mean, how far removed from a wolf are all these dogs?
There's a Chihuahua.
It's not. It can't be quite right, can it?
No, I know what you mean with it. It's but I was just thinking about then. When you said about the usage, the amount they're actually being used and they don't have the rest anymore. I was actually talking about this with someone else yesterday. When I was a kid, I'd maybe have one thing that I could do a week. That was maybe karate or whatever it was, and that was it. That was my one thing. Yeah. But now kids, they're doing things 7 days a week. Yes. And maybe. And again, I'm just going back to it. Maybe adults are like that as well. Maybe they're just having to keep themselves more and more busy because that's the done thing to do now. And maybe that's why the increase in competitions, because there's a demand there for them. Perhaps that's possibly why they're getting used so much.
Yeah, I mean, in dressage we have a winter season and a summer season, and the temptation is to qualify for this, and then as soon as you've qualified for this, it turns to the next season and you're qualifying for that. Yeah. So chasing points, it is sometimes difficult to say, no, I'm going to give him 2 months off, even whatever. I mean, mine at the minute have had 3 months off, or they will have. But I'm just, I have this phrase, practicing my gratitude, that at least this has happened at a time of year when they can go out. So they've actually been out 24/7 just to eliminate the process of bringing them in and out of the field all the time, which I obviously can't do.
Although you would do if nobody was watching. But when you talk to me, all these questions come in my head. So like you're saying, your lots had 3 months off. Yeah. I assume before your operation, you got them to a certain level of rideability. Yeah. They've had 3 months off. How quick would it take you to get them to that same level again? Once you're up and running, like, would it take you the same amount of time as it took you to get them to this level, or would it take you less time because you already know it?
Right. They do not forget. No. This has always amazed me. You could have a horse off work for years. You get back on, he will still remember the tricks that he has, either the good things and the bad things. So I could get on Curly tomorrow and he would still know how to go shoulder in, half pass and try and change. Yeah? He would not have forgotten that. And I do not know. They amaze me every time I experience this. I just think, how the hell do you remember that? Because they've no need to, but they do. Fitness is another thing, though. Yeah, he won't have forgotten things, or they won't have forgotten things, but it's the fitness. So my bay mare is of a bit more of a blood type, warm blood, but a lot more quality. And I've already started sitting in the middle of my round pen on a chair, encouraging them to walk round. So they're both up to 45 minutes of walking. Yeah. That's all I'm doing with them at the minute. But they're both really good girls that you could just tack up and get on. They're not going to be difficult to restart. Some of them, if you don't ride them for a while, it's going back to as if they were newly backed. Oh, really? Yeah, but those girls will be good. Ella, however, is another story in that she's an Irish draft and everything's gone south. Oh. She's lost her neck, it's all gone to her belly.
I know how that feels.
It will take a bit longer to get fit, so I've started already. But as soon as I am able to drive the van, which has got a manual clutch, and she'll be going back to the treadmill and get going with that. And it'll take a bit longer to get her fit, just because of her breed and her nature.
But you will get there.
Oh, of course we will.
Do you get a lot of like clients who will maybe call you up, if they've got a competition coming up and panic about the fitness level that they've lost because they've been lame for a couple of weeks, and Do you know what I mean? Do you ever get like a panic? Oh no, I need to make sure that I have you hit this and this, because otherwise they'll lose the fitness, when in reality it's not going to make a lick of difference.
No, I think being out in the field is more important, because obviously they're still moving around. If you had something on box rest and then you've got to start bringing it back into work, that takes a lot longer. So yeah, it depends on the animal, and you know, it just, I'm going to take my time. Like, I had great plans for what I was going to do, you know, until July. That was then it just all that was it. Yes. So it's like they say, God, is it Robbie Williams? God laughs at you when you make your plans. Yeah. And I think it very much is, you know. We'd great plans. We were going to try and get our remaining double clears in VS. We were qualified for 3 classes at the area festival in dressage. There's so many things that I wanted to do, and then we're off. But hey ho, that's what we were talking about. You can't keep them in work all the year round. I had planned a break for her from November to January, but it's happened now. So if I get started again, well, find things to do over Christmas and New Year.
But it mentally as well for you, if you, like you said, you've made the plans for this and you've put in all the work and like, how do you like, I know when Shan like has her competitions and something goes wrong, it affects her for a little bit and then she goes again. But like, how do you like prepare for yourself? Like, is it something that's always in the background so you're always aware of it, you're ready if it happens, or if it happens you just go, whatever, and shrug it off and carry on?
I've had quite a good run. I've had quite a good run since my last thing. My last thing was a torn rotator cuff here, which was mended. It happened COVID year, the first year, and it was not repaired until the following year. So that was my last time I was off. So I've had a pretty good run. Yeah. But as I say, the main thing is the timing. It's a lot better, this being in the summer. So hence the urgency. I need to be back by the time they can't go in the field and they need exercising more. That's more the pressure. So yeah, you've got to find the positives, because otherwise you just get yourself... I've had my Mardy moments, don't get me wrong. Poor Bob's probably copped for it a couple of times, but it's just the way it is. That's horses for you. It's just part of it. I'd rather it be me lame than them.
Yeah.
I'm much easier to rehab than they are. We've all tried to bring horses back into work when they're supposed to be doing quiet walk exercise. And you telling me should be on my crutches. Yeah, it's that's not good fun.
No, but like, is it something that you get used to? But like, in the horsey world, do you sort of like, in your beginning of your riding career and something like that happened, did it affect you more then than it does now, or is it the same, or do you deal with it a different way, or?
Gosh, I've been off and on with one thing after another. You know, you're dealing with all these live animals that weigh tons more than you do, and stronger, and have got a mind of their own. They're flighty. You know, things happen. But now I feel at my advancing years, I feel more a sense of urgency, because, you know, when you're 20 or 30 as a rider and you have 3 or 4 months off, it's not a major part of your life. But now I'm thinking, well, how many more years am I going to do this? 3 or 4 months off is a much higher percentage of my time that I've got left riding horses. So I've more experience in dealing with it, probably a better mindset than when I was a bit more hot-tempered and flighty. But yeah, there's that sense of urgency that I feel I don't want to be hanging around. I need to be back on.
So it's something that like, riding wise, you'll know it's obviously like, you know, you said before you retired your horse because, you know, his back leg, you know, whatever. Do you ever, as a rider, do you ever think you'll look at yourself and go, oh no, my shoulder's hurting me now, or my knee's hurting me now, I'm going to stop? Or do you think you'll just power through until literally there is no way that you can get on top of a horse anymore?
I don't think, and you'll never know till you get there, but I don't think I would need to feel that I could ride to a certain level. And then if I couldn't ride to that level, then I probably wouldn't bother. But who's to say? I might not ever be able to give it up. I think you just have to move your goalposts.
Yeah.
That's all it comes down to. I would still enjoy riding. I mean, when we've had periods when we can't compete, when we've had, foot and mouth, we had no competitions for a period of time when foot and mouth was on. And then COVID, we had quite a long time when we couldn't compete. I still loved the training. Yeah. You know, it didn't bother me that there were no shows to aim for. I was loving my training. And I sort of thought, well, by the time we come out, do you know what? I'm going to be shit hot because we're just concentrating on our training. But funnily enough, everybody else was the same. They were all better as well. So my plan didn't work. I thought I was the only one that was going to have improved. No, I don't know. I just like riding. I like training horses. I love the progress, the challenges. Yeah, and you know, there's always different ways around things. It's you can't be just. You've got to find a way to make them work out how they tick and how your horse rider combinations tick if you're coaching, because that's another thing.
I imagine you get lots of different horse rider combinations in your everyday, you know. But obviously, we met through Pony Club.
Yes.
And obviously, by the sounds of it, it's something that you're very passionate about. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, I started in Pony Club when I was 6. So my parents bought me this most unsuitable child's pony, which was not a child's pony. It should have completely been renamed anything other than a 12-2 Welsh Mountain pony. Liver chestnut, 4 white socks and a white blaze called Cherry. Yeah. And we had him for 5 years, and I swear to God, he must have booked me off most days for the first few years. But I wouldn't give up on him because I didn't think I'd ever get another pony if I did. But as I said, my parents knew nothing at all about horses. I was your ultimate crazy mad pony mad child. Apparently, it is.
You wouldn't have known.
I wouldn't have known. No, from being very, very young. If we were out in the car and there was a pony or a horse in the field, I used to scream blue murder until they stopped the car so I could go and look at said animal in the field. And I had a riding hat, you know, with the little elastic bit, and I had a crop with a loop on, and I used to canter everywhere. So this is preschool. I used to do this and canter everywhere wearing my hat and my crop. And I'd build jumps on the front lawn, you know, the peg basket and all that kind of thing would make jumps, and I'd be cantering around. But I also, you know, the old-fashioned steel metal dustbins with the handles on the side and the lid. So I used to put a bit of skipping rope on that and bounce up and down on the dustbin lid with my feet on the handles like stirrups. And I learnt my rising trot on that. On the dustbin lid, yeah. But yeah, just ultimate crazy mad kid. And then one day I was cantering around the front lawn, winning the Queen Elizabeth Cup. And this big horse box pulled up at the end of the drive. I thought, this is a bit strange. So this man came out and was shouted up the drive like, "Is this Mr. Hamilton's?" Well, it turned out this was Bob Gardner dropping the ramp and delivering me this pony on a rope head collar. And that was it, just give us this pony. And we were clueless, we didn't know. It went in the field, we'd no idea. Dad built a stable and so on and so forth. And so it was with this pony. But we got involved with Pony Club. Yeah. And my mum was either secretary or treasurer all the way through on the committee under Mrs. What's she called now? Mrs. Armstrong, Judy Armstrong. And she makes Sue Stewart look like a pussycat. Yeah, she was a very, 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 very frightening lady.
For all the people who don't know who is Sue Stewart.
Sue Stewart is just gold. She's been district commissioner and assists now, still with Pony Club all her life. But so I came up through Pony Club and then started teaching for them, obviously, when I was older. So I started Carfield and immediately went on the committee of Pony Club. And that was just how it is. It's just, it's one of those institutions that once you're involved with it, you tend to feel then you give back. Yeah. You know, as I say, I owe all my sort of experience through the rallies and all the people that we had teaching us and just eventing and dressaging and jumping and being on teams and everything like that, you know. So yeah, I've got friends now that I met through Pony Club and being on camps and things like that. So, in fact, with my 14-2 pony, we were on a camp at Crooklands We went Crooklands when it was a riding school. And 4 of us were sharing this really grotty caravan and staying over for this 5-day camp. And we were having our orange and our biscuits when it came on the radio that Elvis had died. So I can remember where I was when they announced the death of Elvis Presley, and I was on Pony Club camp with my friends in this grotty camp.
Good times.
Yes.
So when you got this horse pulled up at your house, and like you said, your mum and dad weren't horsey. Did they know how to look after?
Well, he knew the basics, obviously, from having the Shire horses, so he knew about straw and hay. Yeah. But I remember there was Kirkham riding school in Kirkham before it was all built upon, and they had a saddlery shop, and we went to this saddlery shop and bought this bridle that came in a plastic bag. Well, we couldn't work out how to put it together, could we?
I still can't.
No, and everything. So there's lovely photographs of me, my brother's tweed jacket from his school sort of thing, and little shoes, my school shoes, and So I came through that. So Thornton Cleveley's riding club and Fylde.
Yeah. Filed now, that's where I and Link are now.
If any of the trophies and cups that my riders have got, I always say, if they're old enough, look for my name, will probably be on them.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. But so, I want to also talk about the people who get horses who think like it's the same as getting a dog. Have you come across these sort of people in your coaching career at all? Have you got like someone called you up and go, "Hi, yeah, we've just got this new horse and we want to have," and then the horse isn't even backed, or you've had that.
It's happened. Well, it happened to me, didn't it? With that,
Oh, that horse wasn't backed.
Yeah, my little pony. It was only just newly backed. But it does. It happens, and it's usually super keen riders that persuade the parents that they do want something, and with all the good intentions, they get something that's not quite suitable. The instructors at Pony must have dreaded me turning up on a sherry.
Why?
Well, it was so naughty. It was so naughty. We had a small holding, as I say, my dad was a poultry farmer, and our land sort of went up from Mains Lane right up to the back of Mains Hall, if anybody knows the area, and this acre field was very long and narrow, and I used to ride him progressively further and further up, but if I got him to a certain point, he used to drop a shoulder and beggar off back down to the gate, where I inevitably would come off over its head, and this would happen over and over and over again. But as I say, I couldn't give up on him because I didn't think I'd ever get another one. So I was so determined to get him sorted out. And Thornton Cleveley shows, we would jump full barrels at home as we got older. I got older and what have you, can manage him a bit better. We used to jump the full oil drums, which are about 3 foot.
On its side, I assume.
No, stood up oil drums. I'm memoing like this. Yeah, they were the big oil drums. Yeah, they were about 3 foot high, and he'd jump that for me at home. But take him to the first fence in the beginners jumping at Thornton Cleveley show, it would inevitably stop and get me eliminated. I know. Anyway, the first time it jumped this jump on the 3rd attempt, and you were allowed 3 goes then, I was so shocked I fell off at the second one instead because well, then we went on after that. We got going again after that.
Why do you think that is? Why do they do that? Because I've seen it with Shan. Like, she'll do a test here and with Aya, no problem.
Yeah.
And they take them to an arena.
Yeah.
Mind's blown. Why? What do you think that is with them? Do you think it's just a new environment, or is it?
Yeah, you practice at home, don't you? And then once a month you go to this other place where everything's different, and possibly rider nerves, horses insecure, whatever. Yeah, it often is. But I try and sort of reassure everybody: if you can do this at home, you can do this in the collecting ring, and you can do this in a competition. Yeah. So, the better you are at home, the better all these other... It moves up, yeah.
So you come down a few bars when you go to the arena?
Yeah, you've got to be training above the level that you want to compete at. Yeah. Definitely.
So, like for example, again, because I'm stupid, like, if I wanted to run 10 kilometres on the day... I'd really have to train for 12, 15.
A little bit more, to allow for the things that you can't control on the day. So there might be a massive headwind or it's a hillier course, So you've always got to train above the level. So if it's dressage and you're competing at prelim, you want to be doing your novice work at home. Or if you want to go out and jump 3 foot, you've got to be jumping 3'6" at home. You know, and it just makes it easier.
But with the dressage, like I can understand that with the jumping, because then you can increase the height or the frequency, or however big the course is. But with the dressage, how do you like up the level? Because it's a set routine, isn't it, usually? Or have I got that?
Yes, you enter your competition and you pick the test that you want to do, and there's now fewer tests in operation, but you pick the one that you want to do or need to do, and then you train that. That's the advantage of your dressage. You could enter a show next month and you've got until then to practice that pattern. You go to your show jumping competition, you've got 5 minutes to walk your course, watch a few other people do it, and then you're in there. So you've got to have practiced everything that you might come across, because you don't know what they're going to do. You can't simulate the whole course because you don't know what it's going to be. No. So it's just come down to training and practice. And
so with like the dressage routines, just repetition over and over and over again.
Yeah, working on your basics. You don't, the higher levels where you've got more intricate movements to do, you don't do the movements every day. That would be too much wear and tear on your horse. You're just training your basics so that when you say, right, come on, now I want you to do this, you only repeat that a few times. You don't do that for an hour.
Okay. So if again, I'm not a dressage rider at all, as you can tell. But if I came to you and said, I've got Philippa, I've got this test in a month. Like, what would be the routine? Like, what would be our training regime, like, to get ready for this test? If I've never ridden this test before, I don't know what moves are going to be in in it, but I've never ridden this test.
Just take it as a simple test, like a preliminary test, walk, trot and canter. Novice test, the next level has got medium trot, basically big trot, Sunday trot, and possibly medium canter in it. Yeah, and more slightly smaller circles, might be more intricate, a little bit more, quicker frequency between the movements. You don't have to go all the way around before you do something else. So first things first, I think we would work on you actually learning it. And people learn in different ways, and I've got to find that out. So if you're a visual person, we'll draw it, we'll make the pattern up. Some people learn by letters, and if you're going to have it read out, you can have these tests commanded. Then we need to use the letters when I'm commanding you round, because otherwise, if somebody says change the rein from F to H, you're going, where's that? So it depends how people learn. Yeah. So if you want to do the test without a reader, then we work out how you would remember that test, and after that, it is just repetition. So from now till the show day, I would encourage you to, each time when you're sitting down having a cup of tea, you sort of draw this pattern out on a piece of paper, because it's just that we've got to get it from. It's got to be sort of automatic. We've got to get it from the front of your brain, remembering where you're going, to further back, and then you can use the front of your brain to ride your horse. Okay. Yeah. Liken it to driving the car. When you first learn to drive the car, you've got to think, okay, right, change gear, do this, drop, handbrake. Yeah. But now you could drive your car, talking to somebody, retuning the radio and winding the window down all at the same time, couldn't you?
Or eating a burger, in my case. Yes.
So it's because you're well practiced at it, that is automatic. So where you're going, to me, has got to be pretty much that automatic. Have you ever driven anywhere and thought, how did I get here? Because I can't remember that traffic. Yeah. So we've got to learn the pattern, and then we work on the quality of your horse and the movements that he's got to do. So in a simple test, basically straight centre line, turn whichever way, then your circles and your changes of rein, transitions, and we work on the quality, but then keep referring back to where it would occur in the test. So if you're trotting a circle and your canter transition happens to be over X at the centre line, then we practice trotting a circle and cantering on the centre line, and just so you're putting it into the context of your test. But we can't, with a lot of horses, we can't just keep repeating the pattern, because they learn it and then they start anticipating, which could give us a whole set of problems.
So if they start anticipating we want them to go one way, they actually go the other way.
It's got to be at the end of the day. You need to know where you're going, The horse doesn't need to know where he's going, but we need to practice the skills that we're going to need to do it.
How do you stop a horse from anticipating? Like, do you just keep them guessing?
Yeah, so the typical thing that they always do, they have this, you go into walk, you walk round the corner, you give them a long rein on a diagonal line, then you pick up your reins, and then you trot or canter. And so many of them lose loads of marks by jogging round that corner, because as soon as the rider picks the reins up, they expect they're going to trot or canter. And the hot ones, the energetic ones, start anticipating, lose a whole shed load of marks for doing that. So when we're practicing, we don't do that. We just walk until they're calm, and then we trot or canter. So they don't know that just around that corner is a transition coming. As long as the rider knows. If the horse is starting to anticipate something, we don't let them teach it that.
That's amazing. Like, I bet you. I mean, I'm sure that the amount of little tricks, like the one that you've just said there. Like, is that something that you've learned through your own riding, or is that something that you've been taught yourself, or
both? Again, and it depends on the horse. The horse himself. So the hotter ones, the energetic ones, will anticipate the forward paces. The lazier ones will anticipate the downwards pace. Yeah. So trotting down the centre line, they start to stop because they think they're going to stop at X. So we don't practice halts on the centre line because they keep putting the brakes on, and it spoils the last line. So, if it's whatever they are anticipating, a general rule of thumb, whatever your horse wants to do, we do the opposite.
Really?
Yeah. So a lazy one, you'll teach it quickly, walk, trot, canter, because you want them to anticipate that if they're lazy. But the hot ones, if you did that twice or three times, it would send them over the top. So it's working out how much of each thing they need.
Gee, that must be so difficult when you're coaching as well.
It's common sense, though, isn't it?
I know, but then you've got to figure it out and be quite on it. To understand, like, because I look at some horses, and I'm not going to lie to you, I don't know are they hot, are they lazy, are they, I look when Shan's riding, they're perfect, absolutely perfect, and I'm sure, but like, how do you sense that from them? Like, what do you look for when they are, if they're going to be hot, or if they're going to be lazy, or if they're going to be, it's
just the reactions, the speed of the reactions that you can tell straight away. Yeah.
Okay. So like I said, I've got my first dressage test in a month. Yeah. So we have our first lesson. Mm-hmm. You tell me we're going to draw out the thing. Do we have a couple lessons a week? Do we have one lesson a week? Do we have it? How often would you say that you need an instructor to be there to make sure that you're doing it correctly, or changing, whatever we need to do to make sure that we're successful in that competition?
I think there's no hard and fast rule on that. I think it would depend how many times you can practice and how you feel you're doing. And so long as I set my riders with a clear understanding of what they're trying to achieve, they can practice on their own. It's if you leave your rider and they don't have a plan, then they're going to forget what you're trying to achieve. So you need to say, right, this is your homework, for want of a better word. Yeah. So try and practice this and this and this, and I'll see you in a week or 2 weeks or whenever they need. So long as the rider, and I know myself, I've been trillions of lessons, so long as I come away understanding what I'm trying to achieve and a plan, I feel like I can work on my own because you're motivated to do it. Yeah. Now, other riders are not so motivated and they tend not to put the hours in. But, that's up to each individual, how fast, if you like, they're going to progress. And some people aren't as ambitious and driven. You've got to accept what their own goals are for them, and help them along the way. But competition nerves is a great thing, a big issue.
For the horse or for the rider?
Both, because it transmits.
Yeah, a lot of people say that. They do, they feel it, don't they?
Yeah, of course they do.
They definitely do, 100%. But like, how do you deal with that? How do you, is it just, you just go to as many shows as you possibly can, or?
So a typical thing as far as the horse is concerned, he doesn't know the difference between a normal show on a Wednesday afternoon and the area festival final. Yeah? So it's only the rider that's going to tell him that that's different. Then you've got your extra judges sitting on tables, which he's not used to, but then it's up to you to practice that environment. School hires and put tables and chairs out and things like that. So usually before these big competitions, I have clinics and we actually do that,
When we went to Mysco, and when you had me running around the Olympic size arena in there, do you remember?
Yes.
And I was blowing out my backside. You can no, keep going. Everything was set up in there, wasn't it, for the competition? Yeah. So is that what they do? They set it up and then you go and hire it.
So competition nerves, I think, comes down to two things really, as far as riders are concerned. Is one, feeling nervous that the horse is going to blow up and do something and frighten them. Okay, so for that, you've got to be prepared. So you've got to have that horse out at sufficient training events where you can gradually introduce the more exciting elements of it, working in company outside, going to places where there's, as I say, the tables and judges' boxes, and get him used to that kind of thing so he feels more confident when he arrives at this venue. The other thing that holds people back is the rider nerves themselves, that they feel that they're going to let themselves down. And that gets back to the other thing that you sort of think, we all want to do really well at a championship, but the horse doesn't know that that's a championship if he's got used to all the outside elements that we've talked about. It's the rider that's going to tell him that this day really matters. This 5 minutes is what we've been building up to for the last 6 months. But I mean, imagine how the Olympic riders, they've done 4 years to prepare for that. Yeah. That's pressure, isn't it? So competition nerves comes down to feeling nervous about your animal playing up. You've got to deal with that. But the other competition nerves, and we've all done it, we've ridden a test and thought, yeah, okay, fair enough. That's the best I can do at this moment. And I'm totally happy with that. So if you come somewhere, you're happy with what you've done. The disappointing days are when you come out thinking, bugger, I made a mistake. I didn't do what I should have done. I've made my job somewhere in that. And you might have been one mistake, might have been 3 mistakes. Because what often happens is you make one silly mistake and the rider is so busy dwelling on that, say they go wrong, you've just got to recover, come back to the zone and get back on with the rest of it, because that's one thing. You're going to lose -2. That's it. That's -2. You can soon pick that up if you concentrate and focus on the next bits and your strengths. But usually when people do make a little boo-boo like that, they go, and then they get tense, they cross with themselves, but because of that, then they forget the next thing, because they're thinking they're thinking about the jump they've knocked down, which is too late. They're not thinking about the next one and the next one and the next one, so they lose focus. And that's frustrating when you come out thinking, I just want to go back in and do it again. And you can't. No.
So it's very much a mental game as well.
It's very, very much a mental game. And again, for that, you've got to practice, you've got to prepare. Deal with things that could go wrong. Because you can... I'm a bit of a control freak, you might have gathered.
No.
I like to know what I'm doing, where I'm going. I like my route planned out. I've got my diesel, my van's serviced, everything like that. And then you set off in time because you don't know what's going to happen on the motorway. Being late for things really stresses me out. And then I haven't got time to familiarise it. I haven't got time to settle my horse. You're under pressure. You're running around in the morning trying to find bits of tack. Pack the wagon the day before. Just be organised and control the things you can control, is my way. And then if there's a massive problem on the motorway and you're held up, that's beyond your control. But setting off in plenty of time and having all your kit with you is simple.
That's a really good, that's a really good tip.
If you arrive late, you arrive stressed, and then it can only go back down from there, can't it? I'm a bit this sort of the 10-minute rule.
Yeah? What's that? Go on, you've got to tell us.
Everywhere you go, try and be 10 minutes early.
Yeah.
Whatever your plan is. Yeah. But if it's a horse show, you need more than 10 minutes.
How early do you arrive for your...
I don't know. The motorway stresses me out because you just don't know, do you? No. You can plan to go to Osbaldeston. It should be, from my house, that should be a 40-minute journey. But I'd set off at least an hour before just because you don't know. And, then you're there early, but I'd rather be early than late.
That's true, and then but all that sort of thing will help you mentally because it won't stress you out. I know as well even when we're going to horse shows and if I'm running late or whatever it is, I get stressed out and I'm not even riding.
Yes.
So God knows how they feel when they're actually on there. And how do you adjust when you're instructing compared to an adult and you're instructing a child? Because I've seen you when you're doing the pony club with the kids. You're great. You're so enthusiastic and like. You make it more interesting for them to ride, from my point of view, because you're so enthusiastic about it. Like, is that something that's you've learned as well? Is that something that's in you? Is that something that you wish that instructors when you were young were going to be like? Because I know, like, the type of dad I am now, I always wanted my dad to be like that. You know, do you know what I mean? Like, you had an instructor when you were a kid who was a bit strict with you. I'm not going to be a bit strict. I'm going to have a bit more games, like, around the world side. Where does that come from? Where do you plan that out from?
I think the thing with children, they've got to first and foremost enjoy themselves and gain confidence, and so within the safety of keeping the ponies under control, you try and teach them and encourage the balance and the suppleness whilst they're also having fun. You can't keep a full hour just being serious, doing sort of circles, and then you try to teach them a little bit without them realising they're being taught, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So just leaning over and putting a cup on something over there takes a lot of balance and confidence and skill. And they're learning that while they don't really realise that they're learning it. You can't give a pure flat work dressage drilling lesson to a small child. Yes, you know, it just doesn't factor in their importance. Whereas if you ask them to canter the pony to the blue cone and trot it again at the yellow cone, you know, it's that kind of thing, isn't it? You know, they're still doing it, but you're not describing it as a 20-metre circle with a transition between A and K. You know, it's just a different way of sort of approaching it. And I think sort of you just need to be a bit more animated in some way, don't you? They've got to enjoy. You're still trying to teach them, obviously, but they've got to enjoy it. Yeah.
Well, how do you deal with like if a kid falls off in your lesson? Like, what do you just sort of try and shrug it off and get them back on, or like what happens? Like, how would you deal with that?
It depends on the severity and what happened, why it happened. If you just get them back on, is it going to happen straight away again? You know, because confidence is a very fragile thing. So if you kind of judge it that it is safe for them to get back on and it will do them good to get back on. But if it's something that, say, for example, the outside influences again made the pony absolutely wild and the kiddie fell off because it was so out of control, then it wouldn't be safe to put them back on, would it, till the original situation had been solved. So you can't across the board give it a general I would do this. If where possible, certainly, it's the old thing, try and get back on, brush them off,
Toughens them up, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, you have to try and encourage them, because if like we've all done it, even with adults, if they fall off and they really hurt themselves and they can't get back on, that builds up in their mind, and then 3 weeks later, when that sprained ankle's recovered, you try to get them back on, then they're really nervous, because in that period of time they've been in a lot of pain, they're apprehensive, they're building up to thinking, oh God, a week on Thursday I've got a lesson and she's going to get me back on this horse. But if you can get back on, adult or child, if you can get back on and carry on and finish in, if not doing the original thing, at least do something, then the brain doesn't keep it dwelling quite the same way.
I suppose another thing we were talking about, like you said, if you get injured from falling off a horse, you've also got to cover it, but you have also got that mental side of it. So if you've, like, say, for example, you've had a client, they've fallen off, they've hurt them, sprained their ankle, whatever it is, they're going to be out for a couple of weeks. Do you then they've got you instructing them again, do you then adjust your lesson to prepare them for like an introduction back into it?
Yeah, the first thing is going to be just literally getting them back on. And some people, if they get back on and they walk round, they're happy, they're delighted, because it's taken them 3 weeks to get to this point thinking, I never want to ride again, you know. So it's all just gradual steps. And then they realise once they're on, it's fine, it's the same horse. It was an accident, it was a freak thing. He's not likely to do it again. You know, it depends why it happened in the first place, really.
Yeah, that's true. Is it always good to like try and, like with Aya's fallen off a couple of times, and Link's, I think, fallen off a couple of times as well. And what we always try and do is we try and sort of explain why they're falling off. Like, you do that. You do, that's a good thing to do, to sort of, and then they can sort of make logic.
I mean, it's about balance at the end of the day. So if they were sort of riding, leaning over to one side and halfway up the pony's neck and he happened to turn sharp left, they would fall off. So if you can explain, well, actually, if you sit up and sit in the middle, and, you know, they give them something to positively do. So rather than saying, don't look down at the floor and don't lean over, you're saying, look up there and sit up straight. You're giving them a positive thing to do rather than telling them what not to do. Because it's like sort of talking about the pink elephants. If I told you not to think about pink elephants, you'd be thinking about pink elephants. So, you know, it's the usual thing there, isn't it? We've got to keep our terminology right.
No, I think that's correct. Yeah, I think that's it. But this is a lot of people, a lot of my friends as well. Again, they're not horsey, and a lot of them think it is just sitting on a horse. You know,
anybody that has never ridden a horse, I'll tell you now, they think that you just sit there.
Yeah, they do. And I mean, even I understand there's a bit of a mental side of it as well. But like, even discussing with you tonight, like, you don't realise actually like how much pressure when you go to these competitions and that sort of thing. Although it is fun, it's still a lot of pressure because you've got that competitive side in you, haven't you? That you want to do well.
Yeah. You don't want to let yourself down. So it is all about training and getting help from the best people that you can. You know, I think you've got to have some, whatever sphere you're working towards. I think you've got to have somebody that you admire as a rider and a teacher, and somebody that's there and doing it or has been doing it, and they're there to help you. You want somebody that's got your interest at heart. Who was yours? That not just taking the money off you.
Yeah. Who was yours?
Well, gosh, there's too many. It would be unfair. But we've all had lessons off people and thought, yeah, that was okay, and I don't disagree with what you've said, and I quite liked you, but you're not rushing back again. But no, I'm fortunate to have had a lot of lessons off some really top people, best in the game. So then it's like this pyramid with coaching that, you know, I have lessons off them and then I pass down and find myself saying the same things to the people that I teach, and then they do the same to the people they will teach eventually, you know. And it's just all about learning, because you never stop learning with these horses.
No. Well, this is, I suppose that's how the knowledge is sort of passed down, isn't it? Like you said, through your lessons. I mean, like you said, you still have lessons regularly, or whenever you feel like it, or when probably tonight when you get home, probably knowing you. No, but it is such a special industry, and the horsey world is again. I came into it when I was about 18, and I've never experienced anything like it. Like the togetherness, you said, like your friendship that you've not seen them for years, and then it's like you've seen them again. The determination, the responsibility, the skill, the mental side of it is just all consuming, isn't it? It's a lifestyle, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, is there anything today that you wanted to talk about that we haven't talked about?
I don't know. We've been rambling on about so many things. I can't think.
Sometimes, you know, if anybody asks me about like with work and stuff like that, like tell me one thing about work that you know you'd want to talk about, and I know what it is in my head, but like from your experience, your career, the life in the equestrian industry, is there anything that's always stuck in your mind where you've gone, do you know what, that has always been such an anchor memory for me? And do you have anything like that?
Oh, crumbs. I think it's one of those things, like I said, being self-employed, you make lots of mistakes, but I think you've just got to own it, hold your hand up, say, okay, that was me, nobody else's fault. Just bin it and move on. And then the good times, obviously, you know, you just really relish it and, memories. Facebook's a great thing, isn't it? Because it pops up, well, the good and the bad. Things you don't want to remember, sad things. But certainly the nice memories where you've been somewhere and done, good things. But what gives me a lot of pleasure is when my clients do well. And quite often I'm competing against them. Yeah. We have sort of various different horses. We're inevitably against each other. And nothing would please me more than them to beat me, because it shows I'm doing my job. Great. What would be the very, very best would be if we were equal first. Yeah. But I don't mind at all if clients have good days, we have bad days. It all moves around, and I'm just delighted when my clients do well. So a really, really good sort of thing is if your clients go out there and do well and beat you, you're very proud.
I bet there's not many industries where you can go up against your teacher in, your coach in, in competition. I don't think there's that many industries. Like, you can't do it in football, really. Yeah. Maybe tennis. I don't know. That must be a really odd thing. Like, just have you ever had? I'm going on. But have you ever had that situation where you were both in a competition together, and your client has not spoken to you because they're trying to be serious, and they've sort of turned on you a bit?
I can't remember. If it ever has done, I can't remember. But no, I think the collecting ring is one of those places. You've got to focus on your job, focus on getting your horse ready to do its thing at 3:05, whatever time you're supposed to be on. And although I'm kind of aware of other people and you're sort of, friendly towards people, that's everybody's job. And some riders just do not speak at all. They're absolutely like this. And so be it, and you just know that that's them concentrating. Yeah. They've got the game face on. You can't say, "Oh yeah, how are you?" Like this.
Shan's got a constant game face on. I don't speak to her. And when the game face is on, when I come in the house, don't speak to her. Right. Like this.
Yes. Yeah, she's got a game face. Yeah. No, everybody's different. You've just got to sort of take them as is, and yeah.
Yeah. Oh well. Thank you so much for coming on again. I think I'll let you go home because you've got to have dinner at some point. I bet your knees starting to get a bit sore.
It's well rested actually. Yeah, I've had a busy day today, and I'm supposed to keep it elevated, so it's done me good.
Thank you so much for coming on again. Right. And we will have you. We'll have to have you back on because there's clearly so much more that we need to talk about. And if Shan sees you at the competition, I'll make sure that I come and say hello to you, even though she might have a game face on.
Okay. I look forward to that.
Well, and I wish you a speedy recovery.
Thank you very much.
And, thank you so much again.
All right, no problem. Thanks for having me.